things. We'll go back to our Access project first here. And I'll open AC3. Remember, we just started AC3 on Monday. We just did our first form there. It was a copy of AC2. And all we did was create that split form. But remember how we create that split form. Let's just go real quick over the 3-click method. This is for reports or for forms. All you got to remember is a 3-click. Say I want a form to browse or edit the appointments table. Click the appointments table, click create, and click form. There's my form that I can one by one edit the records of the appointments table. It's just a user-friendly way of viewing the records. I'm not even going to save that. If I want to edit the data, I can always just open the table and edit it directly. So the form is just a friendly way. In the advanced courses, let me show you here. Say we're editing the vendors table and we have a form for it. Click, click, click. In the advanced database things, you can say, okay, I want you to edit my vendors information, but don't allow them to change anything having to do with the quantity or cost, but only allow them to correct the address. You can create forms in Design View to not have anything changeable except the things you want your data entry person to have access to. So that's where forms can not only be a little more friendly than viewing the data in this manner. For the people that aren't familiar with databases, they could accidentally select through multiple rows and hit delete, and they just deleted data on you. Where with the forms, you can have fancier things here too as well. You can have the picture of the person. The forms can be very much like a nice looking web page. So forms are user-friendly view of the data. And remember how the last thing we did here, the 3-click method to create the split form. It's just viewing both data sheet and form view at the same time, either on a table or on a query. A query is like information from a table. I can view it in a form format. So just for fun, let's just say I want to view the sorted data from this, whatever this query was. Let's see what it is. Okay, so there's the data, the sorted treatment numbers. I want to create a form on that, or a split form on that. Click once, click create, and not these forms, but more forms, split form. And there I have the form that lets me view it in friendly view as well as datasheet view. I don't find split forms completely useful, but I can see where, yeah, sometimes you like to see the whole table while I'm browsing one record at a time in form view. I would usually just jump right into datasheet view because I'm used to seeing the data as the Excel, the whole table. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit more now with that. I'll bring out the textbook and work through the maintenance part. Remember, we're thinking about using a database that someone else has made. They're having you use it, or they're coming to your company and saying, we want to charge you for making changes to this database. You will be familiar with what they mean when they say, oh, we need to add some fields to our tables, or we need to modify some data types. So we're going to learn about data types and adding records or adding columns to our fields.
So you want us to make a new AC4 or is this AC3?
No, this is AC3 continued. Yeah. Okay, so where did my textbook go? Here it is. So we have our table, we have our database, we've created a split form, and we can use that form to actually update some records. So let's go to our split form now that we're going to use it some more. And did we already add a record? Let's check. Look, let's check. In our veterinary vendors table, did we add a record? Let's check. I'll go to our form view of the veterinary records. I can go to my split form. And let's see, how many veterinarians do I have here? We have 6. Yes, we did add the global pet supply. That was one thing we did. Remember, you can add that either in datasheet view by clicking on the little starred line, or in form view, go to the end of the browsing with the little arrow star thingy. That basically says, okay, you want to edit here or here. Remember how this shows new until I start typing, then it auto numbers that. We're not going to add any more after number 6. But we can navigate back through to Mays Supplies Corporation. And we realize that the corporation is not Mays Supplies Corporation. They decided to change their name to Mays Supply LLC. They supplied microchips. Now, if I didn't remember what the name was of the company that supplied microchips, I could go up to my very first record, or actually, I don't remember if I have to start with my first record, and I could do a Control F, or click the Find. Control F or Find, and I could search for microchips. Not microchips, microchips. And if I click Find, it doesn't find any microchips. Why did I not find microchips? I know they're in there. I can see them right there. Oh, I have to search for, not just in the current field that I clicked on, which was the ID field. I can tell, oh, search for any field in my document. And maybe it has the word microchips in it, so I'm going to change it to any part of the field could match the word microchips. Now when I click Find, it takes me to the record that had microchips in it. So that find with ours isn't super useful because I have only about 6 records. But imagine a large database of your inventory and you need to find something. That search works very well. Okay, now that we found microchips, now we're going to change or update the name of that company from Mays Supplies Corporation to Mays Supplies LLC. And of course, somebody spelled this wrong in the first place. They forgot that middle R. I can double-click that word and just replace that with LLC. I don't see the change down here until I click off of this field or hit Enter, and then I'll see, just like in Excel, once you make a change to something, then it's reflected throughout the database. Here it shows, oh yes, you made a change to that record, and it shows you that change. Remember, we're viewing the same record, one in form view of just that record. One datasheet view, that record is the highlighted one and the little pencil showing, hey, you're in the middle of editing that. So we replaced that, we updated it, see if we're updating any more. I think that's the only one we update. But then someone comes to us and we get a report from manufacturing or from our customers that, let's see, what do they supply? That our vaccines are failing. We're getting breakthrough fevers in our pets, and it's always because the Sanchez supplies have given us inferior product. Now, we could decide as a corporation to sue these people and take them out of our list of suppliers to use. You can delete that record, but most people wouldn't delete that. They'd say, you know, we might not want to remember what their address was. I suppose they could write it down somewhere, but what if we, instead of deleting the record, we have another field called, active or trusted, or maybe use or don't use. We could have another field, and we only use vendors that don't have that checked. Well, this company decided they just want to delete the memory of Sanchez Supplies from their database. So just select that record and hit the delete key or right-click delete, and that record will be gone forever. And it gives you one warning. This is not something you can undo. So whenever you see this message, think to yourself, do I have a backup? Am I deleting the right thing? Because you're not going to be able to go back if you don't have that backup. Now, if anybody has any kind of decent IT skills and a database that's important to you at all, they will be backing up at least once a day. If not constantly, every time you make a change, it has a backup version. How many of you have a Mac? Do you use Time Machine? It's a really good program that will keep track of changes to your documents. You can do the launcher and just look up Time Machine. That may save you if you're in the middle of a paper and something happens between yesterday and today, you lost your great work. Time Machine is like the backup for your Macs. PCs, there is backup as well. Just want to tell you a story, a little warning story. Someone was working on their statement of faith and got 4 pages done and then realized for some reason they accidentally selected the last 2 pages, hit delete, and went to save their program, not realizing they had accidentally deleted half their paper, and they canceled the save as. Gone forever. They hadn't saved it until they realized they had already saved it with the wrong data. Be sure to save often. Word will recover files if you actually close it without saving. But often when you don't have an undo, you're stuck with rewriting that. So save it and make a backup of it. All your important stuff, remember that OneDrive, your backup drive, your Google Drive, all the places you can save a copy of your fine work. I don't want you suffering that. This person will probably remember that from now on, but it's a hard lesson to learn, especially if you've done a lot of work. Now, of course, you've written it. You could probably rewrite it a lot better, but it's still a lot of work left to do. And I'm not sure, is that a major part of the grade in that class, your statement of faith?
It's a pretty big part.
Okay. So remind your friends and do it yourself. Save that and make a backup. And remember with Schoology, the submission can be like your backup, your initial revision. Most professors just ignore any revision other than the last one sent in before the due date. Okay, so we will delete this record after thinking, do I have a backup? Am I deleting the right thing? And then we click OK, and there, record number 5 is gone. Never to come back unless I had a backup in the database. There is no undo. So that's a very important thing to remember. And let's see here. Now, they show us something we can do in viewing the data having to do with this Home tab and this little section here, the Sort and Filter. This is something that is a quick way of viewing the data without having to go write queries. I could also go and write a query and say, find me all the records that have the city named Dolores. Or I could just view the data and say, selection equals Blanding, the city I'm at. And it will automatically sort the data for just the records that contain that. This is called a filter. It's like, think of it as kind of a temporary query. I click on something and I do selection equals Colorado. And I get all my Colorado. It's called sort on selection. Now I could also sort a selection that anything that's not equal to Colorado, and I'll see, oh, I better toggle that filter off. Let's try that again. Try that. Selection not equal to Colorado. There, so that's what it's expecting. Seeing anything but the state of Colorado. So this filter, think of this as it's quickly building a little query for you without you having to go through the whole work of creating and design query. Just show me veterinary names, sort them ascending, or only show me the ones with that particular name. Of course, only one has that particular name. But the filtering, you can adjust filtering, and of course you can even do some advanced filter, and it starts to look like a query builder. So the advanced filter is basically, okay, I'll go help you design a query, but they'll call it a filter. So to spend a little time in the book just showing you the things you can do with these filters, you're just building little temporary queries, and you can turn them on or off with the toggle filter. Toggle filter remembers the last filter you had. And then I can say, don't sort them anymore, just put them back in the order that they were in the table. So they did a little quick walkthrough in the book, showing you how those filters can work. They're not modifying the data, they're just arranging the data how you like, toggling it on and off. So we'll skip through the filters, and then we'll jump to, we're going to now do something even, well, it's not as dangerous as deleting records. It is changing the structure of our database. So we can close this split form. I adjusted some things, so it's going to ask me, do I want to save the changes? Yes. Save my adjustments. We decided, well, the veterinary supply decided that in the, let's go ahead and take a look at this veterinary vendors table. the data in here, we see that they had the type of supply they brought us, and the quantity and the cost. Well, some of these things, perhaps they'll think, well, maybe we have, oh, somebody spelled some vaccine wrong there, because I just noticed that. Correct that spelling. Maybe we're going to be ordering supplies like surgical supplies. Maybe they're going to give us in fractional amounts, like maybe by the pound or by the gallon if it's a vaccine, or by the micromilliliters. And we don't want to just have an integer for the quantity. We want to allow for decimal values, like 50.5 milliliters of the feline rabies vaccine. Well, right now, because of the data type here, I can't type 50.5. It only takes integers. But suppose they would like that to be adjustable to the decimal values. Well, in order to do that, I have to change the type of data that I'm storing in this field. When we first started these tables, remember underneath the fields, I could adjust my data type up here. And if I look here, I have other number types. I have things called large numbers, currency. Well, that sort of takes decimal, but then it puts that goofy dollar sign in there. So I don't want it to be currency. So this allows me to change the data type, but not quite as the detail that I want. In order to change the data type with a little finer control, I'm going to jump to design view of this table. Go to design view of the veterinary vendors table. And here, when I choose quantity, down here in the field properties, here's my field size long integer. If I click on that, I can change that to a little more detailed version of numbers. Computers store numbers with a variety of formats. Sometimes numbers can be really small and only need to take up a byte. They can only count from 0 to 256. Integers can take negative values and get pretty high, I think up to 32,000. Long integers can get really high. I forget how high long integers can get. But these first three types, they can't do any decimal portion. This data type, single, we call it single floating point, single precision floating point, means it's a number that has both a number before and after the decimal, has a decimal portion. So single is the type of data that I want to change that to. So by just going there and clicking single, and now going to datasheet view, saving my design change. Now if I go to quantity, it will let me type 50.5 in my feline rabies vaccine. Say that represents milliliters of that vaccine. I changed the data type. Now watch what happens if I try to go the other direction. Say I have it as a single data type. You don't have to do this part. But suppose I had a single precision with decimal, and I want to change it back to just a normal integer. I do that, doesn't complain. Watch what happens when I try to save it. It warns me, hey, you are storing that number in a shorter size, meaning I'm going to throw away anything after the decimal. It gives me a warning, and again, I think this is something that can't be undone. It has changed the 50.5 back to a 50, because I said, yeah, make it a regular integer. So I'm going to go through that again. Change the integer to single. And that allows me to set multiple value or decimals after that number. Now they don't make us go make these changes, but that's the reason they changed the data type of quantity. So that was I'll call that a pretty simple change to the data type. We can change any of our fields if we decided we wanted a different data type. And it would warn us if we're shortening anything. If we're making it longer, it won't complain. Like if city right now, oh, look at that, they're all 255. If I realize, hey, I'm taking up way more space than I need to, we could shorten all these to a shorter field size. But they don't make us do that. We did that ourselves back in the owners. Remember in the owners table? We did the field sizes of just what was needed. And the one that we imported, they had a large field size. But we're going to do something else back in the vendors table. Let's close the owners table. Oh, sorry, I'm in the vendors table. We are wanting to change the design of our vendors table. We would like to add a field right above quantity. Right above quantity. We're going to add a field. So I click on the gray marker to the left of the quantity row, and I right-click Insert Row. So between veterinary supply and quantity, this is going to be a new column in Datasheet View. We're going to put in a field called, property. Where did we go? We changed that. We're going to call it product type. Yes, product type. Now by default, it's going to want to make it short text. We are going to have it to be a short text, but it's going to be a special kind of short text. We're going to, in the data type, grab that pull down and go all the way down to the bottom. We're going to have it to be some data that they choose from a list. Remember how you go to web pages and when you want to enter your country, it has a list of countries to select from? That's because they don't trust people to type their country right or to actually have a typo, and they wanted to make sure that the data goes in. They get good data coming into the registration. State, right? You choose your country and then it has a state field. You can't just go spell Iowa. You have to go find it in the list. That's all to make the data pure that enters the database. We're doing a similar thing here by using our Lookup Wizard. Oh, not the expression builder. The Lookup Wizard. I accidentally typed short text. Lookup Wizard. Uh-oh. There we go. And the Lookup Wizard is going to make a pull-down field for them to choose from. We're going to change it from looking it up in a table or query to typing in the values that we want to be able to go into this product type. And there's 3 product types that we're going to allow. There are vaccinations, microchips, or surgical supplies. Those are the 3 types of products that's currently our supply. So I can go into here, and in my Lookup Wizard, I'm going to type in the values I want to allow. BAC, MC, or SUP. BAC, and I can hit tab, it goes to the next one down. MC for microchip, and SUP. And then I click Next. So this is basically building up a little mini table. Think of this as building up a little table just for selection of what they can enter into that particular cell. And then I click Next. And I'm going to be happy with the name product type. That's fine. I am going to allow them to type in their own product type, so I'm not going to check Limit to List, although if you want to be sure they don't ever type the wrong thing there, you could check Limit to List. But in the book they say, leave that open for now. Although to me it makes a lot more sense. And we'll come back to this on another one. We're going to have one that allows multiple values. So both of those unchecked. Now when I click Finish, I don't see anything special. What's so special about that? Well, let's go back to Datasheet View and we'll see how special this is. I go back to Datasheet View, saving what I just made the change to. And now I see the new field showing up, product type. And now if I click there, look at that. It becomes that pull down when I want to enter data for that particular field. So by using the Lookup Wizard, I can have it enter that value. And it does still let me type in my own values. So if I come up with a new product type, it will let me overwrite that. But otherwise, I can choose from the list. Now we're going to come back here and we're going to write a query that updates all of these. So feel free to play around with that, see how it works. We'll be coming back and fixing that. Okay, so that was our adding using the lookup field to add product type. And I can enlarge that so I see the full title. Now we're going to add another field called a multi-valued field. And this one's going to be added at the bottom, or as the last column. So let's go back to design view and go to the last row, the last blank row, and we're going to enter this is going to be called, I think they're going to call it service abbreviation. I think in the book they missed this part. We're going to add a field called service abbreviation. Service abbreviation. Short text, again, lookup. We're going to use the Lookup Wizard one more time for something a little fancier. Okay, so we're going to do service abbreviation. Let's check my spelling. And then change it to Lookup Wizard. Same thing, we're going to type in the values I want. And next. And now we're going to make this a 2-column field. So click 2 there. And then we can start typing in the values we want. And they gave us a table in the textbook. I'm going to show you the table while I type them in here. Let's see if this will work. So you can see them. Look at that. It wants to shrink my window when I bring it over to that screen. That's really irritating. Why does it have to decide it wants to change my window size when I'm moving it around? Windows, you're doing a bad thing to me. There's the data types. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on that. I guess, does it zoom at all? No, we'll leave that. Those are the data types I'm going to be entering on all of them. So you can type ahead of me if you like. I'm going to bring this window over so you can see all of them. Oh, and of course now it wants to take over the whole page. Thank you very much. Stop right. Oh, irritating windows. It has to do with my 2 screens not being the same size. Yeah. It thinks, oh, when you're more than half over, I'm going to change to the size for that screen. There we go. Okay, so those are the data types I'm entering. I'm going to enter, like, oh, it wants to hide that on me now. Okay, thank you, Access. I guess I can't show them to you. I was hoping I could show them. Access wants to take over, and of course I can't move Access while I'm in the middle of this. So I'll just type it in for you. Now I have to bring them over to this page so I can see them. All right, here we go. Column, this is going to be the abbreviation T-1, T-1, and the name of that's going to be feline radius, feline radius. I'm going to get a little longer column there, T-2. That's going to be dog wellness exam. Tabbing will take me down to the next field. I'm going to put these in just the right size that I think will work best when I view them as I enter data. T-3 is my cat wellness exam. T-4 is my dog rabies shot. T-5, feline vaccination. Somebody gave us a dog a few years ago, and I don't know, we probably had it 5 years until it needed some help from a veterinarian. And then after we took it to the veterinarian, suddenly we started getting mail about needed to go pay for vaccinations. I had been vaccinating my dog for years until they started telling me, no, that's required. You have to pay to have it vaccinated. Vaccinations. So remember, if you get a pet, they cost money. See, I grew up with pets that didn't cost money. I got the farm pets, like my rabbits. They didn't need any vaccinations. And my little friends, the hissing cockroaches. No licensing needed for them. Y'all remember Bob Barker? You heard of Bob Barker? The Price is Right. The end of every Price is Right, the last thing he would say was, don't forget to get your pet if it's spayed or neutered. That's how we ended every show.
I bet you forgot one time.
Actually, at the Minnesota State Fair, they had in the veterinary barn, they had live spade and neuter going on. I could watch the operation. It's rather fascinating. Feline. I never saw the putting in microchips. Any have pets with microchips? To me, if you got a pet that needs a microchip, you're getting too expensive a pet. I have a niece that has a hedgehog. You know how much hedgehogs cost? I think she paid $500 for a hedgehog and supplies for it. This tiny little animal that is not very friendly at all. And pokey. Okay, so there's the fields, 2 columns, Lookup Wizard. Now when I click Next, it's going to create that little mini table. I'm going to use the column 1 is what's actually going to be entered into the column when I actually entered the data. It's going to show up in my datasheet view. But this time I am going to allow multiple values. Watch what happens when I click allow multiple values. It automatically selects limit to list. As soon as I want multiple values, I can't type in my own. So allow multiple values, that automatically gets checked. And look at it, it stays checked even if I turn off multiple values. So we are going to allow multiple values because they're going into our appointments table, right? I just did it in the wrong place. I realized this was supposed to go in my appointments table. I wasn't paying attention. Can I import it? Let's see. Otherwise, I'm not going to make you do it. I realized I put it in the wrong place. Let's see if it will let me import that.
You can copy it.
You think?
I wonder if it'll just copy the...
Let's see if it lets me copy. Oh, copy. If it does let me copy paste, I'll be very happy. I haven't done this before. Let's try this. Appointments table. It was supposed to go here at the end of the appointments table. I think. No. It was in the appointments table. It was going to go. Where was it going to go? It was going to go right above the. Right above the treatment number. Let's see if it will let me do that. Appointment time. Let's try paste. Insert rows. Let's try that.
How do you check if it has
paste? Ooh! You think it worked? Let's find out. Appointments table. Service abbreviation. It didn't paste. It made a table, but it didn't paste. Let's try that copy paste again. Veterinary. I put it in the wrong table. Let's try that again. Veterinary vendors. There's the service abbreviation. Let's copy. And let's go back over to here and appointments. Let's try that paste again. Service abbreviation. Paste. And that time it looks like it worked. Let's see now.
Oh, it does. You can click on any space under.
Oh, it did work. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, it did work. There we go.
Did it go before treatment number?
Yeah, it's supposed to go before treatment number, so I can drag it and move over. So copy paste does work. I'm giving you a little extra knowledge here. I put it in the wrong table. I can come over here, copy, and come over here and paste it right above treatment number.
You should email
insert a row and paste.
And delete it from veterinary vendor training.
Yeah. And then we can go back and delete from veterinary vendors. I accidentally put it in the wrong table. I was skipping ahead in the book and skipped the part about, hey, put this in a different table. So I'm going to...
you should email the editors of the book and
yeah.
say, hey, you should put this in.
Hey, we found a new thing for them to learn. You often learn things when you make mistakes like this. Sometimes it's a lot more learning than you wanted. That's the problem. So I'm going to delete it from there because I have it over there in the appointments table where it was supposed to be. So now I can close the veterinary vendors, saving the changes. And in appointments now, I can view a datasheet view. And here's the whole point. I now can click on this and I can choose multiple treatments that they're going to get in their appointment. And when I click that, it shows up as things separated, all the things I selected separated by commas.
You're going to get it.
Now, I'm not quite sure. I don't quite like the way it's not quite giving me the whole view of that description. Let me see if I can adjust that. This is the part where, now that you're done with the wizard, if I go back to Design View, I can mess with what the wizard did for me down here in the Lookup tab underneath the properties of that service abbreviation. And I think I can adjust my column width right here. And let's make that column width to be 2 inches instead of 1.3 something. And now let's go to Datasheet View and see if that helps this look a little better. I guess it just goes with the width of my column. There we go. So I have to adjust my column to see everything. So that did make it expand. The width of it is determined by how wide my column here is. But see how I can see both the abbreviation and the description, but the thing that gets entered into my record is all the things that I had checked separated by commas. Notice I can't type in my own treatment. That's not allowing me to add my own fields. It is limiting it to the list. Now, so far we've done pretty safe things. Adding records, adding columns is a safe thing to do with databases. I'm not corrupting the data. Now we're going to do something dangerous. You ready for danger? Oh yeah, you laugh in the face of danger. Who says that? It might be from more. It was from Circle of Life. What's the name of that movie? What is it?
Lion King?
Yeah, Lion King.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wonder.
Nala. You remember they come back. He's afraid to. Simba's afraid to come back. Oh, they laugh in the face of danger. That's you now. What you're going to do is you're going to write a delete. Wait, are we writing a delete query? We're writing an update query. We're writing an update query oh no, sorry. We're going to do the dangerous thing. We're something safer yet. We're going to do something safe, and then we're going to laugh in the face of danger. We're going to add another field to now we're going back to the veterinary vendors table. Okay? Let's go back to our veterinary vendors table. We may run out of time, and we'll do the dangerous thing on Friday. Veterinary vendors table, we're back here. There's our data. There is the product type that we added. Go to Design View. We're going to add a field at the very end. Remember how we did the calculated field in a query? Well, this is very similar. We're going to do total cost, this time in the table itself. As we enter data into the table, it's going to be immediately calculated in this column. And watch what we do here. We're going to call it total cost. And we're not going to use short text. We're going to jump down to calculated field. Calculated. But before I do that, let me shrink this so you can see what we're going to be putting there. Because as soon as I bring up that dialog, it's going to not let you see this. This is what we're going to be putting. This is how we calculated total cost before in the query. Over here in Access, we're going to change that total cost to be calculated, and it's going to pop up an expression builder. And guess what expression we're going to put in here? Quantity times cost. in the square brackets, just like we did in the query. I'm going to say calculate, whenever I enter data into this table, automatically calculate, and I better spell it right, not quantity, square brackets, asterisk for the multiply, square brackets cost. Just like we did in that query, calculated field query, this is a calculated entry into our column of data in our table. So as data is entered in the table, the database engine will automatically fill in an extra column calculated from other columns. So now if I go back to Datasheet View, saving my changes, I will see that column having been calculated for me. I cannot change it because it is a calculated field. Go ahead.
So it's just quantity by cost?
Yeah, just quantity times cost. So I don't have to write a query anymore to calculate cost. The table is already calculating it as I enter data. Now the advantage of this is, suppose this were some fancy calculation that takes a little bit of time or makes my computer work a little hard. Instead of me having to calculate that every time I pull data out of my table, it's automatically calculated as I change the data in the table. That's the advantage of using a calculated field in a table itself. So far we haven't done the really dangerous thing, but you're getting ready for saving it you're going to be ready for danger because you're going to save this database. You're going to have a backup of it by maybe uploading this revision to Schoology or copying a version to your OneDrive, making sure that if you do mess up on something dangerous, you can get back to your original database. That's super important on databases out there in the corporations. Even if you're not the database expert, you should know enough to ask your IT person, hey, how many databases are we using? When do you do those backups? And they better not look at you like, what's a backup? They better say, oh yeah, good question. We back up every day or every few hours. Or there's a continuous backup. That's what you want to hear from those IT people because they can do dangerous things to your databases. And of course, this is where the hackers like to come in, mess with the databases, and bring down your website. So backups are very important. So we'll save this here. Save your backup. On Friday, we'll be doing the dangerous stuff. And I'm going to upload this recording because there's a lot of stuff we did. That multi-valued field thing, that'll be up.